What is that? Get everyone to the safe house. I'll cover you. Run!
In this lore video, we're going to explore everything that we have from canon, from BioWare on both the Collectors and their base. We're also going to use some of our own speculation to attempt to fill in some of the blanks and just basically expand out the chat a little bit. For anyone that hasn't played through the games yet, there's spoiler alerts.
The Collectors are an enigmatic race that live beyond the Omega 4 relay, a mass relay within the same system as Omega in the Terminus systems. They are rarely seen in the Terminus system itself, let alone in Citadel space, and are generally regarded as a myth by Citadel citizens. Definite sightings of the Collectors have been made on Omega every few centuries. They are most well known for their odd trade requests for which they offer new technologies, often a startling level of advancement. Their requests usually involve the trade of living beings in odd numbers and varieties, such as 24 left-handed Solarians, 16 sets of Batarian twins, a Krogan born of parents from feuding clans, or 24 pure Quarians who have never left the migrant fleet due to illness, importance to the fleet, or disability. One of their current interests is in healthy human biotics. No one knows what happens to the individuals concerned after the exchange is completed.
So in terms of biology, they resemble human-sized bipedal insects with a chitinous exoskeleton, 2 anterior pairs of what appear to be vestigial limbs, 4 eyes, and a distinct, large, tapering head, along with fully developed wings that allow them to fly over short distances. Each collector appears to be little more than a drone with no distinctions between individuals, although there are witnessed instances of drones towering over humans and their own brethren by a significant margin. Their vocal communication mostly consists of insectoid chirps and trills, although they are capable of speaking in languages other species comprehend should the need arise. While exploring a supposedly derelict collector ship, Shepard and the team can discover the true origin of the Collectors, since they exhibit a similar quad-strand genetic structure unique to the Protheans. Shepard realizes that the race formerly believed extinct still exists, but has been completely subjugated by their Reaper masters. Their DNA showed signs of extensive genetic rewrite, including 3 fewer chromosomes, reduced heterochromatin structure, and the elimination of superfluous junk sequences.
While studying collected data in the lab aboard the Normandy SR-2, Modern Solus determines that the Reapers indoctrinated the Protheans and compensated for their growing lack of ability due to prolonged indoctrination through cybernetic modifications. The modifications are beyond any form of repair. each collector drone being little more than a clone. It's unknown if they even still possess any form of gender, riddled with cybernetics, lacking glands or digestive system, and having any form of intelligence or self-awareness completely eradicated by indoctrination. Periodically, individual collector drones are possessed by an overseer, referred to as the Collector General, who is itself being possessed by the Reaper known as Harbinger. In effect, Harbinger assumes control of individual collectors to conduct battles personally. Upon possession, the collector's skin becomes riddled by glowing red cracks, and the eyes begin to emit a bright orange glow, bearing a strong similarity to the husk conversion process used by Sovereign on Saren's corpse. This is probably due to cybernetic implants throughout a collector's body. At this point, the drone becomes more resilient and wields powerful biotic attacks. The Collector General differs considerably from a standard collector, lacking any humanoid traits, with a much larger head, a short body, multiple claw-like limbs. Collectors in the mold of Collector General's appearance exist within some of their ships, taking on a similar but localized leadership and coordination role.
So the Collector's origins, they originally arose during the closing years of the Reaper's harvest of the Protheans. The Reapers subjected captured Protheans to extensive genetic experimentation and then planted them with the cybernetics. Eventually, the end result was the Collectors, a race of completely subservient creatures that the Reapers could remotely use as tools. Collectors were deployed against the last Protheans at the end of their cycle. A Prothean planned to place 1 million of their kind in stasis in bunkers on Eden Prime to wait out the Reapers and then rebuild their empire failed after indoctrinated agents alerted the Reapers. While Reapers razed the Prothean surface cities, Collector drones infiltrated the bunker system and destroyed hundreds of thousands of occupied stasis pods. In the end, only the Prothean Javik would survive the onslaught. Once the Reapers concluded their harvest, they departed the galaxy and returned to dark space, while the Collectors retreated beyond the Omega-4 relay.
Thousands of years later, the modern galaxy began to report sightings of the Collectors around 1600 Common Era, but the mysterious aliens were widely dismissed as myths. All known expeditions to investigate the Collectors failed. No vessel that ventured beyond the Omega-4 relay ever returned, save those of the Collectors themselves. Some speculated that there was a black hole at the relay's counterpart, but this raised the question of how the Collectors could safely use it. Another more fantastical explanation is that on the other side of the relay was a paradise which no citizen of Omega would care to leave due to the crime and suffering of the asteroid itself. A more likely reason was that the Collectors either detained or destroyed any vessels encroaching on their space.
The earliest known modern sighting of the Collectors occurred in 2183 CE, less than a month after the Battle of the Citadel. A group of Collectors arrived on the space station Omega to negotiate the purchase of several humans from the Blue Suns. The exchange was interrupted by Aria T'Loak, the Pirate Queen of Omega, and 2 bodyguards who proceeded to attack the Collectors and Blue Suns. The battle ends with all of the Collectors and human slaves dead, and a few surviving Blue Suns members are rounded up for interrogation and execution. Aria learns from a captured Blue Suns datapad that the Collectors were also interested in the population levels of several major human worlds, foreshadowing the Collectors' master plan.
1 week following the incident in Omega, a lone Collector vessel attacks and destroys the SSV Normandy while it's patrolling for Geth in the Armada system, located in the same cluster as Omega. Though much of Normandy's crew escapes, Commander Shepard is lost in the attack and is presumed dead. Not long afterwards, the Collectors make a deal with the Shadow Broker to recover Shepard's body for an unknown purpose. Shepard's ally, Liara T'Soni, with the help of the Shadow Broker agent Ferrin, discovered the deal and retrieves the body for Cerberus' Project Lazarus before it can be handed over to the Collectors. 2 years later...
2 years later, sorry. 2 years later, in 2185, the Collectors then reappear as the culprits behind the mysterious mass abductions of human colonies. The Collectors attack their targets without warning, jamming all communications before releasing massive seeker swarms, which are insectoid probes that paralyze everyone in the colony. After that, the Collectors themselves gather all the paralyzed victims, seal them in stasis pods and depart, leaving no evidence of their presence. In the rare instances of heavy resistance and Collector loss, they resort to drastic measures of evidence elimination by obliterating harvested settlements from orbit. They also convinced the Vorcha to release a bioweapon plague onto Omega that would selectively kill all races on the station except humans and Vorcha, leaving its human population ripe for the taking.
At least 12 human colonies are known to have been attacked by the Collectors. The first 6 colonies were attacked in the time between Commander Shepard's death in 2183 and his revival later in 2185. The latter 6 colonies, including Cyrene, Fel Prime, Ferris Fields, Freedom's Progress, Horizon, and New Canton, are attacked over the course of Shepard's subsequent investigation of the Collectors. As a human survivalist organization, Cerberus was intent on stopping all of these abductions, especially after realizing that there is a Reaper connection to the Collector attacks. The Illusive Man recruits the resurrected Shepard to investigate the purpose behind these abductions.
When Shepard and the team obtain a means to travel safely through the Omega-4 relay to what is believed to be the location of the Collector's homeworld near the galactic core, instead they find the Collector's base, a massive space station. After traversing through many hazardous obstacles and threats, Shepard and the team infiltrate the Collector base, where they discover that the Collectors have been processing tens of thousands of humans that they have captured, breaking them down and using them to create a human Reaper. ED theorizes that the Reapers tried to use Protheans to construct a Reaper, but failed.
Shepard eventually destroys the human Reaper and proceeds to set a countdown which would destroy all Collectors on the base. As the Collector General is about to perish, Harbinger condemns the General's failure and states that he is releasing control, revealing that a Reaper was controlling the Collectors all along. Concurrent to Shepard's activities in 2185, a separate Collector ship targeted the planet Fel Prime for its human population. Due to the actions of Lieutenant James Vega, the humans were able to obtain valuable intel regarding the race, their origins, their modus operandi, their goals, and even some of their technologies. The intent was to prevent future abductions of human colonies, but it came at the cost of the colony itself and the Collector vessel, and by the time Vega handed over the intel to the Alliance, Shepard had already dealt with the Collector base itself.
Just as a quick side note, that's like an anime movie, a Mass Effect anime movie called Paragon Lost. Quite rare to get hold of these days, but actually so worth it. Really, really good little anime movie, that one. It's feature length as well. So back to the lore. During the Reaper invasion in 2186, the Collectors return in force. More Collectors emerge from dark space on relatively low velocity transport ships called Black Arcs, allowing them to maintain a low profile while the galaxy focused its attention on the Reapers. It is believed that their arrival was meant to function as deadly reserves, wiping out pockets of resistance while the galaxy's troops engaged the Reapers. Collector swarms are among the assets the Reapers use against counter-attacking Turian forces and their Krogan allies during the battle for Palaven. Collector forces also play a role in numerous other battles across the galaxy and deploy abominations, Praetorians, and Scions in addition to Collector troops. Not all Collectors remain loyal to the Reapers. The Leviathans, a race with their own enthrallment abilities, are able to sever the Reapers' control of some Collectors. While most of the affected Collectors die, a few survive, and these awakened Collectors join the rest of the galaxy in a fight against the Reapers to avenge their Prothean ancestors.
So moving on to sort of a more culture focus here, the Collectors themselves are rarely seen since they usually operate through agents such as the Quarian Golo to make their deals. It has been speculated that the Collectors make these strange requests because of the strange fetishes or gruesome culinary tastes, but it is more likely that they perform genetic experiments on these subjects, possibly testing their viability for use in the creation of a Reaper. Regardless of the possible danger, their requests are often granted by fringe groups because the technologies the Collectors can offer in return are very valuable, giving any race who receives it an immediate advantage before it becomes adapted into the wider galactic community.
The Collectors are controlled by a single leader who can possess any member of its species at any time, instantly turning them into the most dangerous Collector on the battlefield. When a Collector is possessed by the leader, the outer surface of their body appears to crack open, revealing an orange glow that resembles molten rock. And I'm pretty sure that we've covered some of this, but again, when Mordin Solus was studying them, he surmised that the Collectors are in fact mindless drones, closer to husks than slaves, and lacking any real form of culture. He observed that the Collectors show no concern for self-preservation and would even die in battle if their fight is completely pointless. Believing that culture is impossible without intelligence, he hypothesized that the Collector living areas and bases are completely without any kind of art or creativity. All Collector technology and constructions, he said, would only exist for their utility without ergonomics taken into account.
So in terms of military here, in space, Collectors use the Collector Cruiser for transportation of troops and abducted colonists. while Oculus fighters lay in wait in the Tartarus debris field for anyone attempting to investigate the Collector's source. The Collectors were known to possess several such cruisers. The bulk of Collector forces consist of Collector drones. Depending on their armament and defenses, these drones have various titles that designate their general roles in combat. Collector ground troops are supported by Seeker swarms that flood battlefields and paralyze victims. Husks and Abominations provide shock troops, while Scions and Praetorians provide artillery and fire support. Collector operations are personally overseen by the Collector General, who is able to command individual Collectors from the safety of the Collector base, and as we said, serves as a conduit for the Reaper himself, Harbinger.
The Collectors don't actually engage in direct combat generally, preferring instead to use hit-and-run tactics. A Collector abduction force usually consists of a single Collector cruiser carrying many troops and Seeker swarms. They use the swarms to paralyze their enemies and quickly send in light ground forces armed with Collector assault rifles and Collector particle beams to mop up and take prisoners. When confronted with sufficiently heavy resistance enough to threaten their ship, the Collectors will flee. And then there's a few different troop varieties, as mentioned, which we won't go into here. We can do that in another video. Then we just have a bit of, a little bit of quick trivia for Collectors, and then we'll get a bit more onto the base itself. So Collectors were originally inspired by electron microscope photographs of insect heads. Their full-body designs range from humanoid to highly abstract creations. An article on the artistic creation of the Collectors can be seen, and we'll link in the description.
The Mass Effect 3 Reckoning DLC pack adds a playable Collector to Mass Effect 3 multiplayer mode called the Awakened Collector Adept. So that's probably why a lot of people maybe hadn't heard of Awakened Collectors before when we were talking about it a couple of paragraphs ago. It's pretty much only seen in multiplayer, so most Collectors are just completely under the control of the Reapers. That's basically
and it's another great example of the ridiculously fleshed out and amazing backlore to Mass Effect that doesn't even make it into main content. And as mentioned as well, the kind of anime feature-length movie Mass Effect Paragon Lost. In that movie, several Collector drones are seen on the ship, and they're about 2 or 3 times larger than the normal Collector drones seen earlier in the movie and in the games. There wasn't any explanation given, or we can speculate that that Protheans, like humans, can come in all different shapes and sizes potentially.
Yeah, or even these ones were just enhanced with like the Reaper cybernetics to be, more like a general, like a better conduit for the Reaper Harbinger to take over. Who knows?
Alright, and then just a quick one just to round off, we'll talk about the Collector base itself. So as mentioned before, it is a massive space station which is located in the galactic core on the accretion disk of a black hole, home to countless Collectors, Seeker swarms and Collector-controlled husks, abominations and scions. It also houses the Collector General, who is directly controlled by the Reaper Harbinger. The base can only be reached via the Omega-4 relay, and it is surrounded by the Tartarus, awesomely named Tartarus debris field, which is a vast debris field made up of all the wrecks of the ill-fated ships who have tried to access the relay. Within the debris field, several oculi hide, waiting to ambush intruding vessels.
The Collector base presumably survives proximity to a black hole due to what Commander Shepard posits is Reaper technology, and keeps at least one Collector cruiser docked with it, which is dwarfed in size by the base itself. The base has the same semi-organic interior as the Collector cruisers do.
Shepard's goal throughout Mass Effect 2 is to locate the Collector's home world and put a stop to their attacks on human colonies. And after infiltrating and escaping a Collector cruiser, the Collector homeworld is pinpointed near the galaxy's core. In order to safely cross the Omega-4 relay, Shepard has to locate a Reaper IFF. Once the suicide mission commences, the Normandy SR-2 arrives at the other side of the Omega-4 relay in the Tartarus debris field. The Collector homeworld is revealed to be that large space station which is orbiting on the edge of a black hole.
After surviving a sudden attack by the Collector's security systems, the Normandy destroys the Collector cruiser sent to intercept it and crash lands on the Collector base itself. Deciding that the base must be destroyed to end the Collector threat, Shepard divides the squad into several teams to enter the base and overcome its defenses: Collector troops, husks, and Seeker swarms. After fighting their way deep into the base, Shepard and company locate the kidnapped Normandy crew, stored alongside thousands of other humans in pods. They discover that the Collectors are breaking down the human victims into organic paste, which is being piped off to another part of the base.
At the base's core, Shepard finds a human Reaper larva, or larvae, however you want to pronounce it, constructed using thousands of abducted humans. The nascent Reaper is seemingly destroyed when Shepard shatters the feeding tubes that support it, causing it to fall into the depths of the base. Safe for the moment, Shepard opens a terminal to reprogram the base's systems to overload. As Shepard orders the team holding back the collectors at the door to return to the Normandy, a message comes in from the elusive man. He asks Shepard to set the reactor to emit a radiation pulse instead of overloading it. This way, instead of the station being destroyed, the collectors in the base would be killed and the technology left intact for Cerberus to use against the Reapers.
Depending on Shepard's response, certain squad mates will react. Should the Paragon response be chosen, then Garrus, Legion, Zaid, Grunt, and Mordin will speak in favor of preserving the base, reminding Shepard that it's just data and that destroying it serves no purpose. If the Renegade response is chosen, then Tali, Kasumi, Thane, Jacob, and Jack will disapprove strongly, reminding Shepard of the sick experiments, while Samara and Miranda will always have more neutral responses. If the neutral response is chosen, then no squad mates will comment.
And also just on that, if you have like romanced Miranda, or at least like gained her loyalty, and she happens to be your squad mate, and you choose to blow up the info, she'll basically she'll tell the elusive man like, consider this my resignation, in support of Shepard. It's really good. That's a really good moment.
It's really
I'm almost certain that almost every time I play through, which is like just ridiculous at this point. Like I've normally had Miranda with me, and that response is kind of makes it like that's quite good.
It's a really good moment, yeah.
Yeah. So in the end, Shepard makes the decision and sets the reactor. However, the human Reaper climbs out of the pit and engages Shepard and the two squad mates. After the human Reaper larva is destroyed once and for all, Shepard hurries back to the Normandy with Seeker swarms and collectors on their pursuit. The Normandy races away from the base as the countdown reaches 0, just before Harbinger vows to continue on its plans, and finally ends with the collector's destruction.
Depending on Shepard's choice at the end of Mass Effect 2, the collector base is either preserved for Cerberus or destroyed. If Shepard died during the mission, the star behind the elusive man will appear red and blue as normal. Otherwise, the star is pure blue if Shepard destroyed the base, or deep red if the commander chose to preserve the base. This is obviously due to his Paragon and Renegade choices. Squad members will also comment on the decision afterwards, showing agreement or disagreement depending on the choice made, and each individual in part.
After Shepard dealt with the collectors, Cerberus sent teams through the Omega-4 relay to salvage Reaper tech from the collector base, whether it was destroyed or preserved. In Kronos Station, it discovered that Cerberus recovered the human Reaper, using it to augment the station's functionality, either its brain if the collector base was preserved, or its heart if the collector base was destroyed. When the Alliance captures Kronos Station, the human Reaper's remains are incorporated into the Crucible, becoming war assets.
And just a final bit of, trivia on the collector base. The black hole and the surrounding debris field, nicely called the Tartarus field, I think it was, are seen on the title screen of all versions of Mass Effect 2, which is an awesome title screen.
It is, and so those are the collectors, which are obviously the kind of primary antagonists in Mass Effect 2, which is, I think, it was my first game that I properly played through in the series, and I think that it's quite an iconic. The suicide mission is probably the best final mission of any of the 4 Mass Effect games that have come out, I think. I love the first Mass Effect game, and I love Sarah as a bad guy, but something about the whole game leading up to, starting and ending with the collectors, basically. It starts with Shepard really being killed by the collectors, so it's really framed well, and everything that you do, everyone that you recruit, everything that you're doing in the game pretty much is around this, with the exception of maybe the Lair of the Shadow Broker DLC. And even that is related to that gives you information on how you survived and how your body was recovered. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. Something about when you've done all the right upgrades, you've got everyone loyal, and when you go into that debris field, and it's amazing. It's really well done, and the music is amazing, and the speeches that you can choose are really good as well.
And just the whole mission in general, some of the chances you get to let your squad mates shine. I mean, it's not Definitely not as much as I would hope, but it's still really great. The way you can sort of pick a squad mate to perform a certain job. So like when you need a biotic shield to protect you from Seeker swarms, you can pick one of your squad mates to perform that like action, and it sort of changes how the mission goes.
Samara, you pick Samara.
Yeah, Samara, pretty much. Or
Some people do Jack, but for me it's Samara.
Yeah, and like picking the secondary squad's leader, like obviously due to like game limitations, I guess. Always, but they sort of let you do a lot of things that sort of makes your squad really feel alive in the final mission and feel like you've built them up for this specifically, and it sort of makes sense that it's not just Shepard doing everything, even though Shepard is a beast. You still have your squad mates having their moments, which I think is just a perfect final mission for Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, and like what I like is that there's no right way to do it, but just the general feeling of you spent this whole and it's a pretty long game with a lot of stuff, like game recruiting and making loyal the biggest team out of all 4 games so far as well, by the way, by quite a long distance. So it's a really involved game for that, and then so you spent the whole game doing this, and finally you get to hit the collectors where it hurts. Like it's felt like you've been behind the 8 ball on everything that's been happening with the collectors, so far. And so I think it's fantastic, and it's a really cool idea, like being on the edge of in the center of the galaxy, just on the edge of a black hole. Like look, I get that like if anyone's watched Firefly, the TV show, like there's a lot of leaning on that in terms of collectors and all the rest of it and some of the concepts, but it's just really well done. I love the collectors. I love their base. I love that suicide mission. And this kind of sums it all up, really. Yeah,
but with that, we've pretty much talked at length about everything we can relating to the collectors and the collectors base. So if there's anything
we didn't mention one thing.
What have we missed?
Well, one of the most iconic quotes of the whole game has been mentioned a couple of times. This is Harbinger, assuming direct control.
Yeah, so with that, please assume direct control of the like button and the subscribe button after this video if you guys enjoyed. And we'll definitely see you in the next Mass Effect lore video coming soon.
We'll see you soon. I should go.